Helicopters are a familiar sight in New Zealand skies. This DVD has been produced to provide general safety information for anyone who may come into contact with helicopters as passengers, when transporting goods, for forest and agricultural operations, and in an emergency situation. Helicopters are complex and versatile machines, and for the safety of both passengers and crew, they need to be treated with respect. You can view modules on this DVD that are relevant to your occupation or interest. The first module, the basics, the pilot, best practice, should be viewed by everyone. Using a squirrel helicopter to demonstrate the basics, let's take it apart. The fuselage is the main part of the helicopter and includes the cabin where the pilot and passengers sit. This area is similar to a fixed-wing aircraft, with varying seating, doors, and baggage area. Above this is the main rotor, basically a rotating wing which does most of the work. The main rotor may spin in either direction, depending on the model of the helicopter. As the helicopter flies in any direction, the body of the machine is suspended beneath these spinning blades. It's this which lifts the helicopter into the air, pushing it forwards, backwards, and sideways. At the rear of the fuselage is the tail boom, with vertical fins, horizontal stabilizers, and the tail rotor. It's the tail rotor that stops the helicopter from spinning around like a sycamore seed, and it helps the helicopter to turn left or right. Both the main and tail rotors are almost invisible when spinning. Most helicopter types use jet engines with air intakes in the front and exhaust to the rear of the fuselage. Most operate with skids to land on, with some using wheels. Now, using a Hughes 500, let's take a look at the pilot. What does he or she do? Well, quite a bit, actually. The control column or cyclic. This looks like a joystick, steers the helicopter in any direction it's pointed, forward, backwards, right and left. The pilot has one hand on this at all times. His or her feet also operate the tail rotor pedals to swivel the tail left or right. The pilot's other hand works a lever called a collective that looks like a handbrake, and it's used to make the helicopter go up or down. So, when flying, hovering, or even sitting on the ground, the pilot is often unable to give any hand signals. Visibility is restricted to the front, the sides, and if leaning out, downwards. The pilot cannot see directly above or below the helicopter, and will not be able to see any movement to the rear of the machine, especially when on the ground. As the noise level around all helicopters makes conversation difficult, eye contact is often the only means of communication. If the pilot is being directed by radio, they are often too busy to give an acknowledgement. The helicopter must operate with its nose into the wind, which makes for easier control, and the pilot is always looking out for any wires or other hazards in the area. If they're landing in an area which is unfamiliar to them, they may be looking for one identifiable person on the ground to guide them in and watch for hazards. This person needs to be standing with their back to the wind at the upwind end of the landing zone with their hands held above their head. Remember, the pilot is always the person in charge. So, what do you need to know when you are around helicopters? Each situation has its own guidelines, and in most cases all relevant parties will have had a safety briefing.
Everything that's painted red, that's a no-go zone. There's no.
The following sequences cover general points relevant to most situations.
Okay, like that.
Approach the helicopter only within the pilot's view. Make sure you have positive eye contact with the pilot, and if he or she is nodding, ensure the gesture is intended for you and not an inadvertent movement from them. In most circumstances, you'll be escorted to and from the helicopter by either the pilot or ground crew. They'll also attend to the storage of any luggage. Quite often, the machine will be running at flight idle. This means the main rotor blades are still spinning, but remaining horizontal. Never approach or leave a helicopter when the engines and rotors are running down or starting up, as the pilot has limited control of the rotor blades during this process. The pilot has full control of the main rotor blades only when the engine is fully running. When approaching or leaving the helicopter, treat the rear of the machine, which is where the tail boom meets the fuselage, as the furthest back you are to go. Never be tempted to duck under the tail boom. Always move forward. Helicopter doors are delicate and expensive. If you need to leave the machine unaccompanied, close the doors securely, gently but firmly, making sure there are no loose objects jammed outside. Remain crouched in view of the pilot until the machine has lifted off. Where the ground is sloping, always move downhill, not up toward the rotor. Always stoop when moving around the helicopter, especially if you're tall or rotor clearance is an issue. Walk, not run. When waiting to be picked up, make sure you plan ahead. Secure loose clothing like hats or scarves. Stack long items together. And if you have helmets, make sure the chin strap is done up or put it into a bag. Remember to hold on to all items as the helicopter lands. Sometimes the rotor can stir up dust and grit. If you're blinded by it, stop, crouch lower, and wait for assistance. Any tall objects, tools, fishing rods, skis, or rifles are kept horizontal below waist height. If you need to close the doors, check they're in the locked position, as some helicopter doors can look closed when they're not. Should they come open in flight, loose objects could fly into the tail rotor. If outside, run your fingers around the edge to double-check it's firmly closed. Always wear your seatbelt in flight, and before leaving the helicopter, place the belt on the seat so it doesn't become shut in the doors, and will be readily available for the next passenger. If you're a front seat passenger in a dual-controlled helicopter, be aware of the flying controls around you. Don't store hand luggage in front of the seat, and watch your feet on the tail rotor pedals. If you must get out while the helicopter is in a hover, wait for the OK from the pilot, and then move, one at a time, in a smooth, unhurried manner. Sliding across the seats will reduce excess movement. If you have any luggage, lift it carefully from the machine. Remain crouched until the helicopter has lifted off. Wires of all types are a potential hazard. If you're using a helicopter to do work on your property, clearly inform the pilot of the exact positions and routes of any wires. The noise and rotor downwash can confuse. Plan your actions and think twice before doing anything. Go to where the pilot can see you and catch his eye. Pilots much prefer it that way. With the increasing usage of helicopters in New Zealand for business and pleasure comes the potential of an increase in mishaps. If you use helicopters frequently, especially over water, consider attending a helicopter underwater escape training course. Failure to survive in a marine ditching is often caused through panic and not knowing what to do. This course will provide you with both theoretical and practical sessions to help you survive. To make it safe for both you and the company you're flying with, remember these key points. Listen carefully to the safety information given to you, even if you're a frequent flyer. Ask if you're unsure. Comply with their instructions. It's for your safety. For further aviation safety information, including these free Safety Around Helicopter posters, see the CAA website at www.caa.govt.nz or contact them at this email address: info@caa.govt.nz. New Zealand has some magnificent bush areas well supplied by huts and trails with a variety of challenges, although not always easily accessible. The helicopter has become indispensable, not only to set you into the heart of these areas, but to locate those lost and injured. This scenario shows the best practices for those going bush and coming out.
Okay, Stu, if you can just pop your equipment on the scales.
Prepare your gear well, and don't exceed the maximum weight limits given to you by the helicopter company. This can vary depending on the helicopter, temperature, humidity, altitude, etc.
Okay, thank you.
More companies are now weighing passengers and their equipment for safety reasons.
Okay guys, we're a little bit heavy. Is there anything we could take out of the packs just to lighten up the load?
If you do have excessive weight, you'll be asked to leave some items behind.
Yep, that'll be enough. Okay guys, just follow me over and we'll cart the gear over to the chopper.
Listen carefully to the safety information given to you by the pilot or ground crew, and ask if you're unsure.
Guys, we've got a rule in our company that is nobody is to go back beyond this back leg here, okay? We don't go around the back. There's two reasons for that. Hot exhaust pipe here comes out of there about 500 or 600 degrees when the helicopter's on the ground idling, and people have been known to try and walk around there, get hit by the fumes and walk straight backwards into the tail rotor blades here. And as you can see, they come right down low, so you don't want to come down here. Pilot's door here is the emergency locator transmitter. It's tucked away just in behind the door jamb here. Okay, that's a little transmitter that if we were to have heavy impact, it automatically goes off and would alert the rescue services to our position. It's picked up by the satellites. Now guys, located on this side of the aircraft, underneath the front passenger's floorboard here, we have the first aid kit. It's tucked away in there, and the axe is stationed in there as well. And up in the front window, we have this package here, is the helicopter safety kit. In our company, we have a policy that we carry this when we go over rough terrain up into the hills, that sort of thing. It's got emergency food rations, fire lighting equipment. Okay, the safety belts, guys. Full shoulder harnesses in the aircraft. One of these goes over each of your shoulders, okay?
In most cases, the pilot or ground crew will stow and unload your luggage.
Okay, if you come on over, Stu, that's a step there, and that's a handheld to pull yourself up into there. It's good to get your head on tight there.
Always secure loose clothing, particularly hats and scarves.
Okay, just one of those over each shoulder, Stu. That's it, that's great. And then they just feed through there like that. And there should be another belt just down on your left-hand side. Clips in.
Fasten your seatbelt and leave it fastened until you're told to get out.
You've got a headset just up above you there. Yep, just pop that on and that's good. Yep, microphone's right. And you've got a volume control on the side of your headset there if you want to turn it up or down. Okay, enjoy your flight.
Follow the directions of your pilot when approaching or leaving the machine, especially when the rotors are operating. For extra rotor clearance, move to and from the helicopter in a crouching manner, forward of the machine. Carry tools, rifles, etc. horizontally and below waist level. If the pilot must drop you off from a hover, transfer your weight gently from the helicopter to the ground. One person at a time only. Move forward of the machine, remain crouched, making eye contact with the pilot until the helicopter has lifted off. Don't jump off the skids, as sudden movements can unbalance the helicopter, resulting in serious consequences. New Zealand has unpredictable weather patterns in the ranges. The helicopter may not be able to pick you up as scheduled, so be prepared to spend extra nights. If an emergency situation arises and you need to be picked up from an unscheduled location, make sure you're visible. A small fire burning green foliage provides a good signal for the helicopter to locate you, and it's a good indicator of wind direction for the pilot. Even shaking branches will help attract attention. Clear an area of debris, removing all loose branches well away from the landing area, and secure any loose articles from the effects of rotor wash. Low scrub can be a hazard to the tail rotor, so flatten it or chop it out. If you have strung a radio wire between trees, remember you need to take it down before the helicopter arrives. Steep descents and climbs out of a confined area encircled by tall trees can be impossible due to power limitations. Try to select areas on the side of stream banks or slips to give the pilot a way in and out, and to keep the tail rotor free of obstacles. Have all your gear packed and be waiting grouped together and well back from the landing zone. When the pilot has seen you, he may overfly the area to check the landing site, and also to radio back to base.
Starbase, this is India November Zulu, do you copy?
You go ahead, India November Zulu.
Starbase. It appears
As
we
soon
may
as the
have found
pilot has
the
acknowledged
party.
you, extinguish the fire properly with water or sand and cover the loose branches with rocks.
Yeah, we'd like you to return back to Starbase and we'll organise the medic to fly back in with you to pick up this party.
When the helicopter has landed, wait for the crew to come to you. Do not rush over to the machine. They are trained to handle situations like this, so listen carefully to their instructions. Assist only if asked to do so. New Zealand's snow-covered slopes are a magnet to the dedicated skier, forever seeking that ultimate challenge. Reaching those heights has become more achievable with the helicopter. However, altitude, moisture and temperatures are some of the factors that make it difficult for a helicopter to be flown around mountainous regions. So what does that mean for you? Working with helicopters in this terrain has its own specific requirements, and heli-skiing in particular has its own strict set of rules. For this scenario, we'll look at skiers and snowboarders being dropped on a mountain slope. To begin with, you'll be given a briefing, the safety rules and expectations, either at base or at the staging area before departing for the snow.
You can see the blades come down pretty close to the ground, so if the ground's rising up or the skids sink into the snow, it gets very close to the ground. What we want to do is keep away from there and be nice and close to the side of the machine. It's the safest place to be. It's right here by the guide's pack is what we use as a safe point. The other place that we'd like you not to go to is the back of the machine there. We've got another blade that spins really fast. It's very difficult to see. That's the tail rotor. So from the back of the door here, everything that's painted red on this helicopter, that's a no-go zone for you guys. So there's no reason to go to the back of the machine. So we keep you nice and close to the helicopter. The guide's pack's the safe point. Kneel down on one knee, holding on to the pack and just facing the helicopter there. You don't need to worry about the doors. The guides will close the doors and the pod. Things like gloves, sun hats if you're wearing them, put it inside your jacket. Gloves, put them on. That way they can't blow away. If anything does blow away, all right, let it go and the guide will try and get it for you later on. Just in the case of an emergency, if you have to get out of the helicopter in a hurry, back windows here, if you hit this hard enough, it'll pop out. And the front doors here, you just pull this plastic guard back, grab hold of the red handle here and lift it up. It takes the hinges out of the door, the whole door falls off. Now that's the same on the pilot's side. Also, there's a first aid kit in the front there. It's a fire extinguisher and an axe on the pilot's side, and overnight survival kits under the back seats there. When you hop in, grabbing hold of the handle here, please don't grab hold of the door. Step in, you're going to end up with snow on your feet. Please don't kick the side of the helicopter. Just leave the snow on the boots and hop in. When you hop in, there are seat belts here for you to put on, so please put them on. And keep them on until we've flown to the top of the run, and leave them on until the guide actually opens the door and gets out. Alright, well let's just grab your skis and we'll head off heli skiing.
Visibility is one of the factors that need to be considered in the mountains. Be aware that powdery snow blown about by the rotor wash can cause whiteout conditions. Remember, after landing on the snow, the pilot will keep the helicopter running at flight idle, the rotor blades still turning, but not at full power. Your skis and packs will then be unloaded by the guide. Remain seated in the helicopter until the guide tells you to get out. The guide will then open the doors and have you get out and kneel down in a group with your hand on his pack in clear view of the pilot and wait. He'll then check all the doors and pods are secure and join you, signaling the all clear to the pilot. The helicopter will then take off. At the end of the runs, the skis, poles and boards are tied and stacked. The guide will then radio the pilot.
Yeah, Brock, we're ready for you. If you'd like to come pick us up, please.
Okay, on the way.
When the helicopter arrives for your return flight, remain in a group crouched with your hand on the guide's pack. The pilot will keep the helicopter running at flight idle, the rotor blades still turning but not at full power. When it's safe to move, the guide will assist you into the helicopter. Remember, if you have snow on your boots, do not kick or tap them against the machine or stamp them on the helicopter's floor. The pilot may think there's a problem with the machine. Once you are safely in the helicopter, the guide will then load your equipment. The helicopter is a frequent sight in industrial situations, from the removal of trees, spraying and fertilizing farm areas, or transporting building materials onto remote building sites. This scenario involves a helicopter lifting materials onto a building site. Helicopter companies may provide ground personnel themselves, but this information applies to everyone. Check the surrounding area thoroughly for any wires. Don't assume the pilot will see them. Before the helicopter arrives, clear the building site of any loose material. especially wires, covers and building paper. If there are any vehicles, park them over or near any hazards, making them more visible for the pilot. Any adults not involved, children or animals, should be well clear. Keep in mind that when the helicopter does arrive, the area will turn into desert storm. It'll be noisy, very windy and dust everywhere. Watering the landing area will reduce this hazard. Make sure there's plenty of room for the incoming materials and have dunnage available to space out the loads. If you're not using the helicopter company's crew on the ground, have one person in charge, wearing a reflectorized jacket, standing with their back to the wind and guiding the pilot in. They'll guide the load into position. Indicate to the pilot to slacken the line, release the hook and move away, watching for any problems. Positioning the loads onto a piece of solid timber or the like will allow access for the ropes or strops to be removed for reusing. Make sure there isn't anyone or anything tangled in the lifting cables or hooks. Remember, when working with cables, be aware they can build up static electricity, and always wear gloves. If you're organizing the loads, make sure they don't exceed the recommended weights, are readily identified, and are correctly balanced when attached to the hook. Steady the loads as they're lifted while the helicopter takes up the weight. When attaching cables or lifting directly from the ground, make sure the lifting chain or link is not twisted through the skids or lying on top of them. If using a cargo sling, after hooking up, move forward and to the side to signal the pilot. As the helicopter lifts, ensure the sling doesn't fall across the skids. Never ride on the sling. Every rescue at sea has its own particular requirements, and while the basic procedures are the same, it's all dependent on the condition and type of craft and the weather situation. This scenario shows the best procedures for retrieving an injured person from a yacht out at sea. Prior to the rescue helicopter arriving, a fixed-wing aircraft or another helicopter may have positioned itself overhead and will stay in the area until the evacuation is completed. The rescue crew will confirm headings as they approach the yacht. Once they're overhead, radio communications are virtually impossible due to the noise.
Request wind to be placed 10 to 15 degrees off your starboard bow.
In many cases, the rescue helicopters fly with two pilots, the machine being controlled from the left-hand side. The pilots will rely on the winch operator to keep a lookout and to coordinate the rescue below. As the winch is located on the left side of the BK-117, the lift is usually from the boat's starboard side, midship or stern.
That looks pretty good. Got no sideways motion on the blast, just about 2 metres worth of fore aft. I see they've got the handrails moved off the deck there also. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, you?
Usually, the helicopter will fly overhead to assess the situation and may move away to make radio contact. As the helicopter always needs to fly into the wind, it's very important that the helmsman maintains the heading, regardless of what the helicopter is doing. The helmsman should use a compass or GPS to maintain the heading and not alter course.
Port 5, Port 4, continue Port 4, close objects low up your skid.
The helicopter will come alongside the yacht and deploy a highline rope, which has a weighted sack on the end. If available, use a boat hook to catch the highline to bring on board.
34 deck party has the rope and tow.
If not, do not attempt to catch the sack. Let it land on the deck. Have a bucket or something similar to put the rope into as it's pulled onto the deck.
Right 4. Continue right 3 and then we'll descend to a safe height for the paramedic. Left rock this route. Close object is the mast with 15 outside.
Don't ever attach the highline to the yacht. It's very important that whoever is working with the rope wears gloves and does not wrap the rope around their arm or let the rope get tangled with their feet at any point. If the helicopter suddenly pulls away or the boat drops into a trough, the rope could cause injury. The helicopter is limited in the amount of fuel it can carry, so the injured person needs to be up on the deck ready for a quick evacuation before the helicopter arrives. If possible, they should be in a dry suit or an immersion suit and life jacket. The high line is attached to a hook by means of a weak link on the helicopter's winch cable.
Getting closer, I'll go higher. Roger.
As they start winching up, sending the cable down, the yacht crew needs to use the high line to pull the cable and paramedic onto the boat. It's very important that once the steel cable is on or near the boat, that 1 or 2 people are assigned to keep control of the cable, ensuring that it does not snag or coil around anything or anyone.
Now, good position with the aerial. Attention for the hook, wait on the thumb. Got a thumb. Watching it. At your discretion right 5. Could be right.
Depending on how long the paramedic needs to be on the boat, the helicopter crew may retrieve the winch, hook and high line. Again, be ready for the possibility that the cable could be pulled away suddenly. As our patient is conscious and alert, the paramedic will evacuate him off the yacht using a rescue strop or harness.
And you're clear to winch. Roger, winching out and booming out at the same time.
Once the paramedic is ready, he will signal the winch operator and the helicopter will come in closer to the boat. Again, they will deploy the winch with the necessary equipment.
Yep, that'll be good. Continue left 5. Just left 4 halfway to the boat. Coming up a little bit. Roger. Continue left 3, left 2, left 1, steady left. Ground party has a strop in hand. I'll just 4 foot of slack. I'm pretty heavy. Roger, 4 foot of slack. 3, 2 foot of slack. Okay.
Once the patient and paramedic are attached to the hook, they'll be lifted off the deck, away from the boat, and then raised into the helicopter.
Left 3, 2, 1, 6 foot of slack. Watching some slack. Steady left. Got a thumb. Just moving up to the side of the boat. Okay. 2 foot of slack. Clear foot on left, forward 1. Continue forward 1. Steady forward. Clean up, gents 8, 1 and 2. 1 foot of slack, 1 and 2 is going on now. You have to wait, steady up. Clear winch. Clear winch. Roger, winching in. At your discretion right 5.
If the patient is badly injured, hypothermic, or has been into the water, a stretcher will be used.
You got 20 other survivors. They'll stay on the wire.
After the last winch, the high line may be jettisoned by the paramedic to be retrieved by the boat crew.
8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Steady down. Approach distance. Stopping at 10. Continuing. At the skids. They're centralised. Mast is still well clear on the left. Yep. At top booming in. Passenger's got his arse inside. Switching into slack. Roger.
Safety is obviously the most important aspect of the whole operation. The aim is to make things better, not worse. Be prepared for any alterations to the rescue plan, changes to the weather, damaged rigging, or a person overboard. Occasionally, there may be a need to retrieve an individual directly from the water. If you're a diver, you'll be expected to drop your tanks, and having a rescue sausage could well save your life. If you're this person, be aware of the very high noise and discomfort level from the rotor downwash that will be forcing water spray in all directions. The winch operator will lower a paramedic with a rescue strop. He'll place this over your head and shoulders, tucking it beneath your armpits. When it's secure, the paramedic will give a positive thumb to the winch operator, and you both will be lifted. Keep your arms firmly at your sides as you're lifted up, and let the paramedic and winch operator guide you into the helicopter.
At top, moving in. I'll call them in forward. Pushing over the slack cable. Forward. Head up and around slowly on the left.
One of the largest growth areas in helicopter use is in the corporate and tourism sectors. Where time is an important feature of the business world, the helicopter is advantageous in getting people to where they need to be.
For you. When you hop out, just out the side.
Each helicopter company provides safety briefings for their passengers before every flight.
And the front doors here.
The information given is dependent on the machine and
Round your waist.
destination.
Nice and snug.
If the helicopter is not powered up, this can be done around the machine.
Towards it, we always approach from this angle. When approaching and leaving the helicopter, don't go anywhere further back than this, okay? So stay towards the front. If anything blows off like your hat or your scarf, don't chase it, I'll go get it for you. The doors, they open like this, just pulling this handle down, opens that door. Same sort of handle on the inside. This front door's also got an emergency release. If you pop this little cover off, pull back on that, the whole door will fall away. With the back door, it's two-stage opening. You need to pull the handle down. It needs to come out before it can come back. When you're inside to open these doors, you've got that handle through on the other side. You can see what that looks like. And this handle here for the front door. Okay, moving on to the seat belts. In the rear, it's old-fashioned car type, pretty simple. Round your waist, nice and snug, clips up like that, undoes like that. The front seat belt's a little different. That clips in like that, and then locks down. So to open it, pull up on that. Okay? I'll help the person getting in the front, and we'll do that up when they're there. Also, you've got headsets. Put the strap over the top of your head. Keep the microphone really close to your mouth, and you can adjust it for comfort. Need to talk with a bit of oomph so it picks up what you're saying. On the far side of the pilot seat, we have an axe in case we need to force our way out of the cockpit. There's also a fire extinguisher there, and there's a first aid kit up in the nose of the aircraft on the left hand side. Because the last bit of our flight's over water, we will be wearing these life jackets. I'll put one on, show you how they work. Arm through there, just like a jacket. Arm through there. Grab the two buckles. The smaller buckle goes through there. Okay guys, what we're wearing now is a life jacket. It's all folded away and it's inflated by a gas canister by pulling on this device here. Do not inflate it inside the machine. In the unlikely event that we have to ditch, swim clear of the helicopter and then inflate the life jacket. Once it's inflated, you'll see there's a light attached and also a whistle. And other arm behind you. Through there.
Often, however, because of time restraints, the helicopter will be running at flight idle.
Hello there, just a quick safety brief before we take our trip today.
When this is the situation, the briefing is completed inside.
General rule with all helicopters is we only approach from the front or the sides. We never go around the back. The reason for that is we have a very fast spinning tail rotor that turns almost invisible when the engine is running. We also have some helicopter models with a very hot exhaust system just at the tail end here around about head height, which is another good reason not to go around the rear of the aircraft. We'll also be utilising a life raft. We'll be taking this along with us with an emergency locator beacon. In the unlikely event that we do need to ditch in the water, I shall be pushing this out.
And covers the essential safety information needed for the flight.
Debriefing on the helicopters for you. Once inside the helicopter, we'd like you to fasten your seat belts. These click very simply over your lap and pull on the clasp to secure. Inside there is also a headset for your ears. This is for your protection and also to allow you to hear your pilot's commentary along the way. In a twin-engine aircraft, there is an overhead control panel. You need to be cautious that you do not bump these controls if you are sitting in the centre seat in the front of the machine. We will control the door handles for you at all times. Ground staff will control them for you on the ground, and your pilot when you land on the mountains. So please refrain from touching the door handles at all times. Please hold on to all loose garments of clothing. If something does blow away, do not chase it. Allow your pilot to pick it up when and if it is safe. Be aware of sloping ground at all times. Your pilot will guide you to the safest area for you, but in the event that you do see rising ground to the side, please allow a little extra coverage above your head.
Listen carefully to the safety information given to you by the pilot or ground crew and ask if you're unsure. Remember, the pilot is always the person in charge. There are a significant number of people who work in remote areas, forestry, line maintenance and farming, which can be potentially hazardous. Every year in New Zealand, there are over 1,000 land rescues or retrievals by helicopter.
Yeah, over to the left, that's his bike. It's got to be him. Crikey Dick, what's he done? That's it, he's there lying on the ground, he's not moving. Shit, he looks bad and hurt.
This scenario shows the retrieval of a farm worker who's been badly injured in a farm bike incident in a remote area.
Steve, you alright, mate? Can you hear me, bud?
Yeah,
What happened, man?
over the handlebars.
We've been looking for you for hours. Where are you sore? Did you come down here, mate?
Leg. My leg.
Your leg.
Can't breathe.
Oh, crikey Dick. Just check this bike, make sure she's safe. You can't breathe? Oh shit, okay. I'll have a look, eh? What was that? You saw him there too?
Yeah.
Alright, mate. You think we should try and move him? I don't think so, I think we just leave him. Okay. I don't think he's complaining of he can't breathe and he's got stomach. Yeah. Just hold on and we'll get some help for you, eh?
Okay.
How long ago do you think it happened, Steve?
I don't know, a while ago.
You sure, man? Are you alright? Hey?
Oh, I'm pain, man.
Yeah, alright. I think we need to ring 111. Ring 111. Alright, mate, won't be long, buddy. We'll get some help.
Okay.
Alright? Man, we're miles away from anywhere. We're hours from the nearest road. Yeah, but they could get a helicopter in for us, couldn't they? Yeah, I think that's a good option. I think we need to get them some help now. Okay, mate, I'll do that, eh? I'll just go and move the bike so it's safe and secure. Alright, Steve, won't be long, mate. Alright? Good man.
When Telecom answer, they will ask, which service do you require? Police, fire or ambulance?
Ambulance, what's the exact address of your emergency?
It's Rotokawa Station.
The emergency service will repeat the information you give them to confirm that they have recorded it
What is the
correctly.
best road access to Rotokawa Station?
There's no road access. There's four-wheel drive access, but it's about 35 minutes through the farm.
Okay, do you have a rural fire number?
Throughout this call, emergency procedures are already being put into place.
Taupo.
And what's the phone number you're calling from?
0274.
If you don't have cell phone coverage, you will need to find the nearest landline, so be aware of the information you will be asked.
028. Do you have any other phones with you?
Yes, my mate's got one.
Okay, what are those numbers?
021.
021. How do you identify your property?
We're all the country on the eastern side of the Waikato River, running north.
Okay, it's the country to the east of the Waikato River, and it's running north.
Yes, and there's a big block of trees just behind the accident
And
site.
there's a large block of trees. Do you have GPS coordinates?
Yes, we do. South 38.
Find out the
0.628.
GPS location of your property. If you don't have a unit, get someone who does to provide you with the information.
0.99. And what's the problem? Tell me exactly what's happened.
I'll hand you over to my mate. He knows a wee bit more about what's actually going on there.
Hi, what's the problem? Can you tell me exactly what's happened?
He's come down the hill and gone over the handlebars of his four-wheeler motorbike.
Are you right with the patient now?
Yeah, he's right. He's just lying on his back right beside me.
Okay, how old is he?
He's 24.
24. Okay, is he conscious?
Yeah, he is, but really drowsy, sort of, and he's in a lot of pain.
Is he breathing?
Yes, yeah, but he's saying he's having a lot of difficulty in breathing because his whole chest hurts.
Is he still trapped?
No.
Is he completely awake?
Yeah, he's just drowsy.
Are there obvious injuries?
Yeah, it looks like on his I think it's his right leg. There's the big leg, the big part of the bone there looks like it's sticking through, and there's quite a bit of blood there too.
Is there serious bleeding?
No, it's sort of just there. It's nothing squirting out or anything, but it's just some blood around where the bone's sticking out of his leg.
Organising the paramedics to help you now. Just stay on the line, I'll tell you exactly what to do next.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want you to splint any of the injuries.
Yeah.
Okay, don't move him unless he is in danger.
So just leave him still. Okay.
Just watch him very closely and look for any changes.
Yep, will do.
Okay, if he becomes less awake or starts to get worse, tell me immediately. Due to the remote location and the patient's condition, I'm going to organise the rescue helicopter to respond to you.
Yep, oh that's good.
Okay, I'm going to let you go now and get the helicopter pilot to ring you on this number. So please hang up the phone, but keep the phone turned on and available for the pilot to phone you. Okay, and if the patient gets worse in any way, call me back immediately for further instructions.
Okay. Awesome, thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah, g'day Mark, it's Dan here in the Taupo rescue helicopter. You hear me alright?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, alright, we're on our way out. Just wondering, what's the landing site there? Can I land pretty close to where this patient's hurt?
Remember, with its extra fuel load and passengers, a rescue helicopter needs to land on firm ground.
I wonder where it can land.
When you're choosing the landing site, it doesn't need to be right beside the patient.
Looks a bit narrow up here. Might be a bit better down here. Keep away from that swamp.
The patient can be moved after being checked out by the helicopter paramedic. Even though helicopters can land and take off straight up and down, it's a lot safer for the pilot to retain some forward speed.
Yep, that should be okay.
Ideally, you need to have a firm, flat area no smaller than 20 metres or paces in diameter. If you're unsure, then pace out the area. The surrounding land, bush or rocks, should be no higher than 1 metre for a distance of at least 10 paces. Clear away anything loose that could blow around. The rotor wash or wind generated by some helicopters can exceed 100 kilometres an hour, enough to lift and hurl sheets of plywood and other heavy objects. Even items as small as plastic bags can have catastrophic effects.
Right.
Remove any stock from the paddock and don't forget those electric fences.
Get rid of that fence.
Check for hazards, power lines, television and RT aerials and any other wires, particularly ones located on high hills. Remember to clear away any loose foliage and plant life taller than 1 metre in the landing zone and move any vehicles out of the way.
Do you think we need to winch this patient out, or can we land on flat ground?
Yes, no, there's quite a nice flat area there. It's pretty clear as well. There's nothing on site. There's a bit of a swamp down to the west of it as well.
Okay, good. So I can pretty much land quite near to the patient there then?
Yes, you only be about 30 metres away from where the actual accident site is.
Are there any hazards in the landing area, like wires or anything else I need to be aware of?
There's a set of high tension cables about half a k up the valley south of our position. There's also a block of trees just up behind the accident site.
Alright, cool. And you should have a bit of a northwesterly breeze there still, have you?
Yes, we have.
Alright, good. We'll see you soon.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark, it's Dan here again. You there?
Yeah, Mark speaking.
Yeah, I'm about 2 minutes away, Mark. You should be able to hear me in a minute. I'm pretty much in your general area, I think, so let me know when you hear me. And just stay on the phone and keep talking, man.
Yeah, I can actually hear you now. You're off to my right, which is out to the west of the accident site.
Alright, yeah, I can see a big row of trees out there. Are you just near them, mate?
Yes, that big stand of eucalypts.
Oh yeah, I got you there now, I see you. Alright, I'll just do a circuit around here to the right and I'll come back in again, so just stay on the phone.
If you're in contact with the pilot, identify any hazards. Don't assume they have seen
There's
it.
no other wires or anything I need to be aware of?
No, you just come over that row of pylons you've just come over now. We're north of there, about 500 metres north of there.
Yeah, I've got you there.
When giving directions, some people use north, south, east, west. If you're using the terms left and right, always give them from the pilot's point of view. Services, like rescue and the military, use the clock face method to indicate direction. Imagine you're looking forward from within the helicopter, So directly out to the right is 3 o'clock, behind the helicopter is 6 o'clock, and so on. An approach into the wind is preferred, but a light crosswind is acceptable. Ideally, wear something bright and secure any loose clothing, including hats. Stand with your back to the wind outside of the 30-meter landing zone. The signal to abort the landing is to wave your arms, so don't do that unless something is wrong. Despite your preparations, bear in mind the pilot may choose to land somewhere else due to safety concerns. Watch the pilot and keep an eye out all around the helicopter. As the helicopter powers down, the main rotors will droop lower to the ground. Stay where you are, and the paramedics will come over to you. The landing zone is the pilot's area. Don't enter this area unless asked to do so by the pilot. The same criteria apply for night rescues as for the day, but even more care and planning is needed. If it's getting late in the day, assume that the rescue will happen at night and plan for that. At night, visibility is limited, and the pilot will need to know the information as before, especially the location of any wires, wind direction and strength, and what the cloud cover is like. For night rescues, the approach zone area needs to be even flatter. Clear all the obstacles out of the paddock. You'll often be able to see more from the ground than the pilot will. If you're using vehicles, park 2 of them 40 paces apart, so their headlights will illuminate the landing area. When the helicopter is on its way, turn on all the lighting. Flashing lights especially can be seen from a long way away. Use light sticks or torches if you have them. Remember to dip the vehicle's headlights when the helicopter starts to circle. One person, preferably wearing something bright or reflective, will need to stand with their back to the wind out of the landing zone. If you're in contact with the pilot, identify any hazards. Don't shine any lights directly at the helicopter. Again, the pilot will be making the final decision on the landing site and the direction they'll approach it from. Remember, stay where you are. The paramedics will come to you. The landing zone is the pilot's area. When the helicopter is ready to leave, switch off all the vehicle headlights so the pilot can regain his or her night vision. There are a variety of helicopters working in New Zealand. The following are some of the more common machines that you may be involved with. The Squirrel is a common sight throughout New Zealand. This model, the AS355, is equipped with 2 engines and a vertical fin with a double horizontal stabilizer. It has a 3-bladed main rotor and a 2-bladed tail rotor. It has seating for 5 passengers or 6 with a dual front seat modification. In the rear of the fuselage are 3 lockers for storage. They also can have attachments like pods for extra carrying capacity. The front doors are hinge opening. and the back two may be hinged rearwards or be sliding. These need to be moved outwards before sliding back. The Robinson R44 is often used for agricultural work, although it can be used for transfers, as it has seating for 3 passengers. With a 2-bladed main rotor and a 2-bladed tail rotor, it has a single fin and a single horizontal stabilizer. The Robinson is one of the few helicopters that operates with a piston engine and is most recognizable by its high mast. The 4 doors are all hinged opening. The Hughes 300, also known as the Schweitzer 300, is often used for training because it's small and economical. Recognizable by its exposed piston engine, the Hughes 300 has a 3-bladed main rotor, 1 horizontal stabilizer, and an angled fin, and a 2-bladed tail rotor. With an attachable pack rack behind the fuselage, the Hughes 300 usually seats 1 passenger or 2 with an extra seat added, and the second set of controls removed. It has 2 hinged doors. The Hughes 500 can seat 4 passengers, although often the rear seats are removed for luggage. It has a 5-bladed main rotor, 1 vertical fin and 1 horizontal stabilizer. The Hughes 500 has a 4-bladed tail rotor and operates on a single engine. Moving behind the fuselage under the boom is most certainly not an option, with the exhaust emitting fumes at 500 to 600 degrees. All 4 doors are hinge opening. Recognized by its dolphin-shaped nose, the Bell 206 Jet Ranger has seating for 4 passengers with 1 storage locker behind the fuselage and operates with a single engine. It has a 2-bladed main rotor, a vertical fin and a double horizontal stabilizer, and a 2-bladed tail rotor. The 4 doors are all hinged opening. The Bell UH-1 Iroquois is predominantly used by the Air Force for troop movements involved in military, search and rescue, disaster relief and medical emergencies. The Iroquois has a single engine, 1 vertical fin, a double horizontal stabilizer, a 2-bladed tail rotor and 2-bladed main rotor. As well as a pilot and co-pilot, they usually operate with 1 or 2 crew, and passenger numbers are dependent on the task and the equipment being carried. They're affectionately known as the Huey. The Eurocopter is one of the few helicopters operating in New Zealand with a fenestron tail rotor. The EC-120 has 1 vertical fin, a double horizontal stabilizer and a 3-bladed main rotor. With a single front seat, it can carry up to 4 passengers. The EC-130 carries up to 6 passengers. It has 2 hinged front doors and an optional sliding rear door. The Kawasaki BK117 has seating for 9 passengers. With a 4-bladed main rotor, it has twin engines and a 2-bladed tail rotor. The 2 vertical fins are connected by a horizontal stabilizer. As it has access in the rear of the fuselage, this helicopter is often used for rescue work, and many have been refitted with a range of advanced medical equipment.